It's Coach Garrett here with the MitFit Padwork Academy, and in this video I'm going to show you guys a simple strategy for how to properly and easily wrap your hands. So this is a strategy that I use for wrapping hands that I call the laws of three. Now first off, I like to roll my wraps backwards so that I can start with the loop. This is going to make it much easier and avoid all that extra wrap on the floor when you're going through the wrapping process. Step 1, make 3 wraps around the wrist. So for the laws of 3, I'm going to start by looping my thumb with that little loop at the end of my wrap. Now I'm going to go over the top of the hand because that's usually the way that the Velcro is going to face, and it's also going to be important for our starting point, or what I like to call the anchor point. So my first move is going to be 3 wraps around the wrist. 1, 2, and 3. I want to make sure I stay nice and snug to my wrist and my thumb. Step 2, 3 wraps around the knuckles. Now next up, I'm going to bring it up to go around my knuckles 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now you're going to see I go a little higher up here, and I like to spread my fingers apart so that I don't end up crushing my fingers together and making this tight and uncomfortable. Step 3, secure the thumb. I'm going to come back down underneath the wrist to what I call the anchor point or starting point. Now this little joint between my thumb and my wrist is going to help keep the wrap in place when I go through the rest. Now step 3 in the laws of 3 is going to be over the thumb, and this is where it gets tricky. I'm going to go over the top of the thumb, right under, and then to secure it properly, I'm going to go back over and under the wrist again. Step 4, secure the fingers. I'm going to repeat this motion, which is something I like to call the figure 8 or the cross, through the 3 gaps in my fingers. So next up in the laws of 3 are the 3 gaps in the fingers. I'm going to go through the little fingers. I'm going to come through the L shape between my finger and my thumb, making the top part of the figure 8. I'm going to come down underneath the wrist, back to my starting or my anchor point to finish the bottom part of the figure 8. I'm going to repeat that process through the middle 2 fingers, making sure to come between the finger and the thumb. And as you can see, I make a crossing pattern, or like I said, a 3-dimensional figure 8. Now we're going to finish that off between the big finger and the middle finger, come back down around to our starting point. I might do another couple crosses or figure 8s, just going right underneath the palm, just depending on how much support you want in the hand. And then I'm going to finish off the wrap on my wrist. Now when this is done properly, you're going to see that we have our palm exposed so I can make a nice tight fist. Now let me show you a couple common things people do wrong when going through the fingers. So again, from the anchor point, I want to go through the little fingers, and your common tendency here is to become right back underneath to the starting point. Now if I do this, I can still get a pretty decent wrap, but I want to show you why I advise against it. When we come to the end of the fingers, we now have this little kind of webbing in our thumb, and if I turn my hand over, you're going to notice that I wrap the pad of my thumb. Now if I do this tight enough, I'm going to kind of make a mitten, and it's going to be harder for me to squeeze into a fist. So we always want that bottom side of the hand exposed. If I were to redo this here and show you what it looks like properly, when I go onto the fingers, I'm going to go through the little finger, I'm going to come through the L shape, making that X pattern as I go through the wrap. And now when I turn my hand over, you'll see that I've avoided wrapping my palm. And now when we finish the fingers, another modification we can make is if you feel confident in your hands and your knuckles, but you want more support in the wrist, we will just continue on by journeying down the wrist a little bit further to secure that nice strong cast giving us good support on our wrist while keeping our hand palm exposed. And that is the laws of 3 for how to properly wrap your hands.